Hola students, ever wondered what it's like to tell somebody to do something in another language? Like for example, you wash the dishes, empty the garbage, etc. Well, today is your lucky day because we're going to be focusing on how we form commands in Spanish. Now, in Spanish, we have familiar commands and we also have polite commands. Now, the familiar commands, these are the ones that we use with our friends or with our family members. Whereas the polite commands, those are the ones that we use with persons who are in authority or strangers. In Spanish, to express a command, we use two exclamation marks, an inverted one or one upside down one at the beginning of the command and a normal one at the end of the command. Now, I don't want you to think that this is anything hard. It's just like in English, how you would address the principal or the vice principal or your teacher, how you would tell them or ask them to do something. That isn't the same way how you would ask your best friend or somebody from your family to do something. So, for example, you would say to your friend, "Yo, go on, pull this for me now." Whereas to the principal, "Hello, good afternoon. Could you kindly open this for me, please?" So the same thing really applies in Spanish. Now, para esta clase, for this class, our focus will be on familiar commands, los mandatos familiares. Remember, these are the commands that you use when you're talking to your friends or your family members. But how do we go about forming familiar commands? It's actually very simple. Now, if it's an AR verb, so the activity or the action that you want the person to do, if it's an AR verb, all you have to do is to simply remove the AR from the verb and add on an A. So for example, we want to tell someone to take out the trash. Remember, to take out the trash in Spanish, that is sacar la basura. So sacar is an AR verb. So step one, we would remove the AR from sacar. Then we are left with sac. Step two, we would add on an A. So we would end up with saca. So the full command would be saca la basura. And don't forget your exclamation marks. So all we did was to remove the AR and then we added our A. See how simple it is?
Wow!
So try these two for yourselves. How would you tell someone to mow the lawn? And how would you tell them iron the clothes? So remember, if it's an AR verb, you simply remove the AR, then you add on the A. So, what would your answer be for these two? So let's check your answers. So, to tell someone to mow the lawn, we'd remove the AR from cortar, then we'll be left with court. We add on our A, so we would get corta el césped. We would remove the AR from planchar, then we'd be left with planch. Then we would add on our A. When we add on the A, we get plancha. So the full command would be plancha la ropa. So notice all we had to do was to remove the AR and to add on our A. Now, on the other hand, if it's an ER or an IR ending verb or action that you want to tell the person to do, all you have to do is to remove the ER or the IR from off the verb and add on an E. So let's look on my example on the screen. This is barrer. So we want to tell somebody to sweep. So step one, we would remove the ER from barrer. When we remove the ER from barrer, we are left with bar, B-A-R-R. Step two, we would need to add on our E. So when we add on the E, we get barre. So to tell somebody to sweep the floor, it would be barre el suelo. Try these two for yourselves. How would you tell someone, eat the chicken, as well as to write the word? So remember, to eat is an ER verb. So you kick off the ER and then you'd add the E. So when we kick off the ER from comer, we are left with COM. Then when we add on our E, we get come. So the full sentence would be come el pollo. Now we do the same with the IR ending verbs. So when we kick off the IR from escribir, we are left with escribe. Then we add on our E, so we get escribe. So the full command would be escribe la palabra. Entonces, estudiantes, all you have to remember is this: to tell your friend or your family member to do something. If it's an AR verb, you kick off the AR, then you add on an A. However, if it's an ER or an IR ending verb, then you would simply remove the ER or the IR and add on an E. However, we do have some exceptions. We have some irregular verbs. For these irregular verbs, we cannot simply kick off the AR and put on the A, and we cannot simply remove the ER or the IR from off the verbs and add on an E. These verbs have their own set of rules. Basically, them in them own a lane. First up, we have our stem change verbs. Remember that these verbs undergo a change in their stem, and they change from an E to an IE. In the previous class, we focused on the verbs below, tender, fregar, and regar. Before forming the command, we must make the stem change. After you make the stem change, that is when you would add on the appropriate ending. So for tender, step 1, you'd make the stem change, so we change from the E to the IE. Step 2, we add on the E, so we get tiende. For fregar, step 1, we make our stem change from the E to the IE. Step 2, we add on our A, we get friega. For regar, step 1, we make our stem change. Step 2, we add on our A, so we get riega. Entonces, la única diferencia, the only difference with these verbs is that we just have to do the stem change first. So you notice that for the ER verb tender, we still added on our E. And for the AR verbs fregar and regar, we still added on our A. It's just that we had to firstly do the stem change. So do the stem change first, and then you add on the appropriate ending. Now, you were also introduced to two go-go verbs in the previous class. Now, these verbs are also irregular when it comes onto the command. So, hacer will actually change to as, and poner will actually change to pon. Now, we do have quite a few more. We might not necessarily use all the words below, all the actions below for chores, but it is still good to know them because they're also irregular. And I have a simple song that should help you to remember them. But before we get to the song, let's just practice the pronunciation of these. So you want to tell your friend to come here, so that would be ven. You want to tell your friend to have something, that would be ten. You want to tell your friend to leave, that would be sal. You want to say to your friend, tell me the truth, or say it, that would be D. You want to tell your friend to be something, like be a firefighter, etc., then that would be se. And to tell your friend to go, that would be ve. Now on to the song. I'm going to also add in hacer as well as poner to the song. Venten ponsal, venten ponsal, venten ponsal as dice ve. Venten ponsal as dice ve. Venten ponsal as dice ve. Now you also have an activity to complete. This activity, the commands are already written for you. All you have to do is to read each command and then put it in a logical order. Alright? And that's it for this video. Adios.